Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from our studios here at John Hammond Street from Adesawe Kanda. Also live from affiliates across the country. Also on 3news.com. We're live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also live on TV3 Ghana, on Facebook and 3FM 927, and also on Instagram at 3FM 927. And you can also find us on 3news.com, on Twitter. These platforms we're streaming live right now on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this evening, Organized Labor alleges Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta through the back door is attempting to convince pension trustees to accept the domestic debt restructuring phase 2 despite the exemption from the domestic debt exchange program. This is what Labor has been saying.
Our position will never change today, tomorrow and forever. It is exempted and it is exempted forever, no matter what. And I don't think any reasonable stakeholder or partner will sign an MOU with an institution like Organized Labor and go and do a different thing altogether. Then you don't want peace in this very country.
As the TUC and other labor unions indeed speaking to this. But the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has denied the claims there will be a second round of the domestic debt exchange program. We'll tell you the details coming through from Washington, D.C., where my colleague Abdul Sani Rahman has sat through the press conference addressed by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, earlier today. We'll bring you details of that. Also this evening, former President John Mahama has taken on the government for its failure to deliver campaign promises to Ghanaians. More, as he says, the NPP lacks competent leadership to enhance the fortunes of the country. Stay with us. We'll give you the details of what's happening on his campaign tour, as well as the issues happening in the world of business, entertainment, sports as well over the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. As all, we are very, very interactive on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're streaming live there now at 3FM 927. Drop your comment. We'll read it to the rest of the world. Let's get into the details now. This evening, Organized Labor is accusing the Finance Ministry of using what they've termed the backdoor approach to convince pension trustees to accept debt restructuring despite the exemption from the domestic debt exchange program. Government in December last year exempted pension funds from the domestic debt exchange program following agitations on the labor front. But Organized Labor is alleging the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is engaging in the backdoor maneuvering to introduce some form of a haircut targeted at pension funds. Now, they claim during a meeting with the pension fund managers and trustees on April 7, that's just about a week ago, government attempted to table a new deal involving a possible restructuring of pension funds. And already there's been news about a possible second round or phase 2 of the domestic debt exchange program involving some 123 billion cedis of the domestic debt, which was not restructured during the first phase of the domestic debt exchange program, which involved the restructuring of 98 billion cedis of our domestic debt. Now, the Finance Ministry has a response to this, but according to Labor, they insist workers cannot be compelled to accept any haircut after earlier exemptions of pension funds. President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAD, Eric Enjo-Kabonu, cautions government against the alleged move and says that any of such decisions will spark what he describes the unrest on the labor front. Take a listen to Enjo-Kabonu.
And please, let me state that government should not attempt to go behind labor to think that it is going to convince the trustees. No one is being mandated to take a decision on behalf of the beneficiaries. No one is being mandated. In fact, it is not only an attempt, but government is trying to use the back door to manipulate the various occupational pension schemes to get a certain agreement that would not be in the favor of the Ghanaian worker.
Then that clearly violates your MOU that you signed.
Absolutely. Government should not forget that we have an MOU signed with it. And that MOU is a contract between us and them, an agreement and an understanding, which has been put in the public domain. So they should not go around us and try to manipulate and twist people's hands.
That's Angel Kabono. He is president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRA. That's very interesting developments there, and indeed what Labour has been reacting to, what they have observed as a backdoor maneuvering by the Finance Ministry to get the pension trustees, those are the managers of the pension funds, to sign on to some sort of a program, a domestic debt exchange program targeted at pension funds. You recall that during the first phase of the domestic debt exchange program, pension funds were exempted after Labour raised a lot of concerns and agitations that led to the Finance Ministry announcing the exclusion of the pension funds. Another teacher union, that's the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, is also saying that there's no way workers in this country would allow pension funds to be used for any form of a debt exchange or restructuring program. Thomas Tanko Musa is General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT.
I repeat for the second time that the last time I checked, and to the best of my knowledge, the position of organized labor that pension funds should not be touched has not changed. And the third time, the position of organized labor has not changed. And therefore, that is where we are. And to the best of my knowledge, that is where NAT stands. At this particular stage, let us deal with what is on the table.
Right.
We are saying that the position hasn't changed. We don't want to deal with abstracts, things that we cannot hold now. No. What we have now, those are the things we are dealing with. And we are saying that the position of organized labor, of which we were part, and we engaged government in negotiations and to get it done, and we all agree that pension funds will not be touched. That is where we stand.
That's the General Secretary of the Ghana Association of Teachers, NAT, Thomas Tanko Musa there. Meanwhile, the Trades Union Congress, TUC, has also discounted claims that it has agreed to the new deal for organized labor under the Domestic Debt Action Program Phase 2 that's been described. Now, the Deputy General Secretary of the TUC, Joshua Ansa, spoke exclusively to our labor correspondent, Daniel Opoko, on this matter.
Our position will never change today, tomorrow, and forever. It is exempted, and it is exempted forever, no matter what. And I don't think any reasonable stakeholder or partner will sign an MOU with an institution like organized labor and go and do a different thing altogether. Then you don't want peace in this very country. I don't want to believe it, like I'm telling you. But if it is true, then maybe you want to tell the government and the Minister of Finance to revise their notes.
But you still stand by a decision that you are not accepting the...
Not at all. Not at all. What new? In that 22nd December MOU, we stated that pensions has been exempted. That is what we know. And that's what we will believe until maybe we all go to our maker. But there's no way that Labour will be prepared to discuss any second round or a new proposal with the government or the ministry. No way. You see, what is happening now is create impression. It sends some wrong signals. You see, sometimes I believe in faithfulness, I believe in the trust. Two parties have met. You have reached an agreement. If you even want to do something, I mean, it is very reasonable that you inform the other party that maybe I want to bring on board A, B, C, D. Can you come for us to discuss? But if, respectfully, that thing did not happen, then I don't think we are serious in having any good intention to reaching a very compromised position. But I want to repeat that Labour was not part of the meeting. Labour has not agreed to any new proposal, and we shall never. You will still insist on the first agreement signed between us and the Finance Ministry that pensions are exempted from debt exchange of this very country.
So that's the Deputy Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Joshua Ansa, who spoke exclusively to our labor correspondent, Daniel Opoko, there. In fact, when this issue came up, and we monitored it quite closely and reported it earlier today, that there could be a possible second phase of the domestic debt exchange program targeted at 123 billion series of our domestic debt, which is made up of pension funds, the cocoa bills, and a few others as well. Well, the finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, has categorically debunked reports that the government intends to undertake a second round of the domestic debt exchange program. There have been reports indicating that government was likely to restructure some additional 123 billion of the domestic debt instruments. But what we're learning is that he's been speaking and addressing journalists in Washington, D.C. earlier today, that government is only working with the pension fund to help with domestic debt service, but not undertaking another debt exchange program. And Joe Kabono is president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT. He joins me on the telephone. Mr. Kabono, thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition. So this is the clarification coming from the finance minister addressing journalists earlier today in Washington, D.C., that there's not going to be a second phase of the domestic debt exchange program, but they are engaging your pension fund managers or our pension fund managers to help with domestic debt servicing. Does this come with any clarification for you?
My brother, if you rename a dog and you call it Belasi, whether you like it or not, it is still a dog. So those trick of changing names to say things are not what they seem, therefore it is different, is below our level. So the fact that you change a name doesn't mean that the nature of something is also changed. Please, we have had an MOU with government, which was announced to the general public, that pension funds will not be touched. We as the people of this country have gone through too much suffering on this debt thing. Pensioners have gone through suffering. Investors have gone through serious suffering. Businessmen have had their businesses collapse. Tamaport is now like a ghost town because people are not importing. The people of Ghana have suffered enough. Enough is enough. If you are doing all these and you are not getting, in any case, what are we pursuing? We are pursuing another type of loan from the IMF. That's what we are pursuing. We are pursuing an opportunity to create the environment for us to go for another round of loans, which is the reason for which we find ourselves where we are in the first place. So it is nothing new. And you don't impoverish your people in the quest of going for loans. We have suffered enough. Enough is enough. I don't know what else they will do. Maybe what is left is to drain the blood in us just because of an IMF loan.
And Mr. Kabano, if you stay with me, and this is what the finance minister is quoted to have said, and indeed our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Abdul Sani, also sent through this, and I quote, "No, there is nothing like that. That is a second phase of a domestic debt exchange program. I think that it was a misunderstanding, but if you look at it in line with the 22nd December Memorandum of Understanding that was signed in line with organized labor, pension funds were exempted, as you know, and that has not changed. And therefore, it is really not correct to say that we are planning a second round of domestic debt exchange program with pension funds. But what we are doing is working with them, as in the pension fund managers and trustees, to see how they can help us with domestic debt service, and we maintain debt sustainability, and so those discussions are continuing." This is what the finance minister is quoted to have said in full to this particular issue.
What is the difference between domestic debt exchange, which is also a coined name? At the time they were coining the name domestic debt exchange, they thought that we wouldn't know that they were going to siphon part of our investment. What is the difference between that and domestic debt servicing, which is also another name that has been selected? Please, they should not confuse us. They've made us poor enough. They shouldn't continue with what they are doing.
In fact, and I recall the finance minister on December 5, when he addressed the press, said that 70% of government revenue goes into debt servicing. So that's the cost of the servicing the debt, not even the payment of the principal itself, or
Ocansey.
Yes,
Ocansey.
Mr. Kabono.
When they were going to take loans and so on and so, did they consult you?
They
Did they
didn't.
consult you? Did they consult me?
They didn't
When they were
consult
taking
you.
decisions at high places, were you and I part of it?
No.
Why is that it's you and I who are now suffering to pay up? Who were taking the credit when the loan seems to be creating a situation? Ghana is the fastest growing economy. Ghana is so and so number one gateway. Who was taking the credit? Is it you and I? So why is it the case where the people who created the problem in the first place are those now superintending over solutions that is creating serious survival challenge for you and I?
During this meeting on April 7, which you made reference to with the
But
pension
mind
fund.
you, April 7 is Good Friday.
Indeed. And that's why I wanted to find out if there was indeed such a meeting and what was discussed between the said parties at that particular meeting.
Well, post facto, I heard later on that there was a meeting with some trustees of pension funds. In any case, why Good Friday? When all of us were mourning the death of Jesus and were on holidays at various places in those countries, why Good Friday? That should be a question that ought to be asked. Secondly, who did they meet at the Good Friday meeting? Who and who did they meet? Who did they discuss the issues with? What is the mandate? What mandate did those people carry? Who were the people representing? These are questions that we have to ask.
I see. But were the pension fund trustees present at this said meeting?
Yes. We hear the trustees were present, but the labor unions were not represented.
And no invitation was sent to any of you?
I did not get any invitation, so I called colleagues and they indicated that they were not at that meeting.
And you haven't gotten any information as to what was discussed among the pension fund trustees?
Well, you see, what was discussed is inconsequential to the situation with our position because of the MOU that we have signed, and that MOU have not been abrogated in any way.
And your fund trustees haven't gotten back to you as yet about anything that was said about at this said meeting on the 7th of April?
I don't think they have any official document signed by government asking them to come and engage stakeholders within the various funds. I don't think they were given any of such, because look at the conflict that will arise where fund managers will go and take decisions contrary to the position of labor, who actually own the funds. Labor actually owns the funds. Fund managers are our employees to take decisions on our behalf. So what then? Who then will hold the most functional and authoritative locus now when a decision ought to be taken?
Obviously, it would be the labor unions.
Yes.
So for you, the December 22nd Memorandum of Understanding holds, regardless of whatever.
Absolutely, it does.
And if the fund managers or trustees reach you with this debt servicing assistance that government is asking for?
If they have any document that the government is presented to them for consideration, they should give it to us. We'll peruse it and give government a response.
I see. So we'll see how the coming days will look like on this particular issue. That is, and would you in any way find out from the trustees whether any proposal to have you or the pension funds assist government in debt servicing came up at the said meeting on April 7th? Would you find out from them?
Well, even if it came up, what role am I or you or any of the beneficiaries supposed to go and play? What role are we playing? You and I. What role are we going to play? To take our last money to go and give to government because government is recklessly taking loans from multilateral organizations internationally, and that because there was no restrictions, we were taking loans left, right, and center as if there was no tomorrow. What is you and I going to do? Look, I think that the time has come when we need to tell our politicians and our government and call a spade a spade. As you and I speak, on the streets of Paris, labor on daily basis are demonstrating just because the government of Macron wants to increase the pension age. You see? And this attack is going to affect the livelihood of people in the most vulnerable state of their lives. So look, it is not a small matter we are talking about. Already the general economic malaise is made the Ghanaian worker poorer. The inflation that you see, the bank rate that is skyrocketing, the dwindling fortunes of the city. A few days ago, when the city showed some level of strength, you saw politicians standing on platform making reckless and irresponsible statements. Today, go and check where the city is as we ask you and I. You see? So it looks as if people are not taking the art of governance serious.
Well, the last time we checked, there was a lot over 12 cities to $1.
Even today, just this afternoon, I checked. What do we think we're doing to ourselves?
Mr. Kabano, I appreciate your time on this, and thank you so much, as always.
Thank you, too.
Right.
Thank you.
Angel Kabano is president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT. They have stated their position quite clearly that the December 22nd, 2022 Memorandum of Understanding between Labour and government that pension funds have been exempted in any way, shape or form from the domestic debt exchange program still holds, regardless of what the finance minister is clarifying about this earlier reports that there's going to be a second phase of the domestic debt exchange program targeted at 123 billion cedis of the domestic debt component, which was not part of the first phase. Remember, the first phase restructured 98 billion cedis of our domestic debt. What's happened and what we're monitoring from Washington, D.C. is that the finance minister, in addressing the external investors, indicated that there's going to be another form of restructuring or a way of addressing the domestic debt component of 123 billion, which is made up of the pension funds and then also the cocoa bales as well. Now, the finance minister has sought to clarify this statement earlier at a press conference in Washington, D.C., where he told journalists that it is not a domestic debt exchange program phase 2, but what is going to happen is that they have started engaging the pension fund managers to help government in what he calls the domestic debt servicing and not a domestic debt exchange program. So what this means is the servicing of the debts, which the finance minister, bear in mind himself, has indicated as of December that about 70% of government's domestic revenue is used to service our debts. So in what form the debt servicing support that they are asking for from the pension fund managers is going to come is what the labor unions are asking for, especially because they were not part of any meeting or the said meeting that took place on the 7th of April, Good Friday, so the holiday. And we're told that there was a meeting between the pension fund managers, the trustees, and the finance ministry. The details of it we don't know as yet, and the labor unions are saying they're going to quiz their trustees and pension fund managers to indeed give them some detail of the said meeting that took place on April 7 and whether there was any detail about the domestic debt servicing support that the finance minister is asking pension fund managers to give government. So that's what we're learning right now, and something we're going to keep a close eye on, stay the steam on, and see how things play out. But economist Professor John Gachi, is asking Ghanaians to be measured in their expectations following the finance minister's announcement of Ghana securing a $3 billion IMF deal by end of next month. The finance minister, Kenneth Friata, is confident Ghana will secure an IMF deal in the second quarter of 2023.
The need and the sense of fierce urgency to conclude our discussions with the Paris Club for them to then submit the assurances to the fund. Ghana has done a number of things. First of all, with regards to the Paris Club, we did travel to China. We've sought support from India and the Saudis, and then really maintained an open relationship with the club, letting them know that we were worried about the track record of the common framework. We have had good reception. We really do commend the Paris Club for the sense of urgency and that they have, and we are confident that of the common framework. We have had good reception. We really do commend the Paris Club for the sense of urgency and that they have, and we are confident that they will be able to bring the assurances to the bank in the coming week or so.
Oh, that's the finance minister. Well, the IMF boss, Kristalina Georgieva, earlier urged creditors to act swiftly to enable Ghana complete its deal, reacting to what appears to be the last couple of interventions for Ghana to secure the bailout. With the IMF economist and also the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, believes the country should be cautiously optimistic. The expectations of external creditors to deliver financing assurances to the International Monetary Fund, Professor John Gachi says, all will have to be dependent on government's own posture. We'll find out the details of it, but stay with me. We'll cross over shortly live to Washington, D.C., where my colleague Abdul Sani Rahman is there for us at the IMF spring meetings, monitoring everything and how things are playing out between the finance minister's meetings with creditors and then also some 9 members of parliament on both sides of MPP and the NDC who are also in Washington, D.C., monitoring events. But this afternoon, former President John Mahama has described the government New Patriotic Party's mantra of "we have the men" as station boys, taking the government on over failed promises. The 2024 flag bearer hopeful of the NDC refuted claims that he left a power generation deficit under his administration. He was speaking to delegates in Pong Katamanso on the first day of his Greater Accra regional tour.
In 2016, our colleagues, the MPP, told a lot of lies about us. They labeled us as incompetent. And they came with a lot of big and sweet promises to the people of Ghana and used that to persuade people that there will be a better government than we were. The people of Ghana tried them by voting for them. And that was the mistake the people of Ghana made. Because we have come to realize that after all, we have the men. It was station boys. They don't know anything. If you take our ministers who were running this country in 2016 and compare with their ministers who are running Ghana today, pound for pound, our ministers were far better than any of them. Dumso was not created by us. It was the lack of generation capacity over the years. And so when we came into office, we were confronted with it. We did not run away. We did not shift the blame to somebody. I could have said President Rawlings and Kufuor and President Mills did not add new generation. That's why. But what we did was we took responsibility. I went to Parliament, I said, yes, okay, you elected us to take responsibility. We take responsibility and we shall fix it. And truly, by the time we left in 2016, we have fixed the Dumso. Now they've come and destroyed everything. So they speak from both sides of their mouths. One village, one dam, one district, one factory. Most of those factories are not even working. And so it's just a hoax. It was just to persuade Ghanaians. They touted the economic management team. What a solid team. Now look at it.
As a former president, John Mahama on his first day of the Greater Accra Regional Tour. But the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has outlined 5 key measures necessary for the government to pursue in order to secure the IMF support program. There are electricity tariff hikes, which have brought the cumulative increase to 60% since August 2022. We've also seen the comprehensive set of revenue enhancing measures, including the increase in the value-added tax and the review of the electronic transaction, that's the e-levy. The rest are the enactment of an ambitious 2023 budget with a front-loading of the fiscal consolidation program, continued monetary policy tightening to bring inflation under control, and comprehensive set of structural reforms, notably public expenditure review. Now, these were captured in the investors' presentation by the Finance Minister and supported by the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison. With regard to fiscal and debt sustainability, the Finance Minister said the government has undertaken fiscal adjustment with revenue and expenditure measures to improve debt sustainability and restore macroeconomic stability. This is expected to address structural bottlenecks, including contingent liabilities of state-owned enterprises, commitment controls and arrears accumulation, as well as domestic revenue mobilization. These are some of the issues the Finance Minister has been talking about. But shortly, we'll connect with Abdul Sani Rahman, who is my colleague in Washington, D.C. We'll give you quick updates of what's happening there here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also live on Facebook at 3FM 927. On Twitter and Instagram, we're live as well at 3FM 927. We'll bring you details of the happenings there, here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Keep your thoughts coming in. And we cross over to the Ashanti region because from what we're learning, the Kumewu by-election is already heating up and 8 persons have so far picked up nomination forms to contest the NPP parliamentary primary in the Kumewu constituency by-election in the Ashanti region. Nominations for the primary are expected to close today, April 14, 2023, after the party announced the picking of the forms from April 11, 2023. Those who have picked the forms are the current Director of Health Promotion at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Aboagye Da Costa, a former Member of Parliament for Kumewu, Openyin Yauba, Obapa Amasewa, and Ernest Enim. And then we also have Dr. Philip Yaubano, Edward Kofi Osei, and Kwame Appiah Kubi, and Owusu Bempa. These are the 8 people from the NPP, we understand, have picked nomination forms. The former Member of Parliament for the Kumewu constituency also been named in here. Openyin Yauba is set to have picked forms as well. And then we have the current director of the health promotion at the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Aboagye Da Costa, is also named in as one of 8 persons who have picked up the forms to contest the Kumewu by-election. Dr. Philip Yaubano as well is in there. Now, we're watching how things are playing out quite closely. The Kumewu constituency communications officer of the NPP, Ofori Farid, made this known earlier today. He said as of yesterday, Thursday, April 13, 2023, a day before the closing of nominations, 8 people had picked up forms to contest the party's primaries in the constituency. Remember, after successful vetting of the aspirants, the party is expected to hold an election on Sunday, April 23, to select a parliamentary candidate to contest on the ticket of the party in the by-election. The exercise is to replace the sitting MP for Kumewu, Philip Baswa, who passed in the early hours of Tuesday, March 28, 2023, at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Let's cross over to the Ashanti region now. My colleague and that's sector lead, William Evansinkum, is our Chief Ashanti Regional Correspondent, is joining us on the telephone. William, thank you so much. We now know that 8 people have picked up the nomination forms. What do we know now? Has the number increased?
Well, so it remains at 8, and Dr. Alfred Ocansey from the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Philip Bano from HIFRA, Osei Bempa, Nana Amasewa, the only woman among the 7 men, Ernest Ayim. We also have Yaoba, the former member of parliament, who secured the seat in 2002 after the demise of Rio Ade Basua, the first member of parliament for the Kumaru constituency. Then, of course, Apia Kubi, who is the first vice chairman of the Kumaru constituency. So these are the aspirants who have filed their nominations and are waiting on Sunday for the voting. Alfred.
I see. Now, we see the former member of parliament as well is said to have picked forms. And then one notable person in there as well is the current director of health promotion at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Alfred Ocansey. I mean, you know these people quite well. How grounded are they in the constituency if you're weighing their chances?
Well, so if anything, if the mood in the constituency, beg your pardon, is anything to go by, then it looks like the battle is between Ayim, Ernest Yao Ayim, and the former member of parliament for the Kumaru constituency, who has a very special case or a very special story. Because, Alfred, in 2002, when Yaoba took over or won the by-election, he won it against Basua. And it was under similar circumstances. Basua fell ill, rushed to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, couldn't make it. 2002, there was a by-election. In fact, he won the primaries and went ahead to win the by-election and secured a seat for the MPP in 2004 and 2008. Unfortunately, in the lead-up to the 2012 election, he lost during the primaries to the late Philip Basua. So Basua goes, Basua comes, Basua is no more, and Yaoba is in again to see if this time around he can take over from another Basua. But the dynamics is changing or has changed within the last couple of years because Ayim is somebody who is also a close ally to Philip Basua. He's been with him through thick and thin. Basua had even wanted him to become the next DC in 2021, but that did not materialize. Adeyekum, retained his position as a DC for Kumaru constituency. There has been some level of a very bad blood between the late former member of parliament and Adeyekum. And it was one of the reasons why Adeyekum could not contest because of the fact that the base wasn't favorable. And I understand there was even advice from the Jubilee House that he shouldn't contest because of the fact that there was a bad blood between him and the former MP. And in fact, this afternoon, it also manifested at the family house of the former MP when Adeyekum, together with the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the MPP and the national organizer and national secretary of the MPP, of course, the leader of the majority side of the MPP and the member of parliament for Fijase, Dr. Ayu, went to the family to sympathize with them. It was a very bizarre scene there when the family saw Adeyekum. But like I was telling you, the battle is now between Ernest Yawayim and then the former member of parliament for Kumaru constituency, who appears to have the support of the traditional council, Yaoba. But as to whether that will translate positively to him annexing the seat for the second time, I think it's just a matter of time.
Indeed, it's just a matter of time. I mean, quite comprehensive detail there, Willem Van Sinkum. But you're saying that the director of health promotion of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Alfred Ocansey, is nowhere near, the equation when it comes to the persons who are the front line or the front runners for this primaries.
Well, absolutely. It will be one of those political surprises and then a typical case of fear delegates, because in the lead up to the 2020 elections, if there's one body who can even come close, then I wouldn't rule out lawyer Eduardo Say, the former managing director, the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority, he went into the primaries with the late Philip Basua, but lost to Philip Basua, and he is contesting again. Philip Bano was also in the race during the primaries. He also lost, and he is contesting again. Look, if there was anybody who was going to cause a scare to the rest of the aspirants, that definitely would have been Kwaku Bia. But unfortunately, he is an independent candidate. And I can tell you, even in the by-election, he can also cause a surprise. Because if you look at the vote that he garnered, he had a lot of support from the anti-Basua. So in 2020 elections, Kwaku Bia had over 11,000 of votes. Translating into percentage, you're talking about 39-point-something%. And he came second, better than the NDC candidate who had a paltry 8.33% of vote share. So, and of course, Kwaku Bia is contesting again, but we will leave that to after the vetting and after the internal primaries of the MPP. When all the candidates are set, then we will delve much into who is concerned. But intra-political, a conversation as far as the MPP is concerned, the battle line has been drawn, at least from the mood I picked from the ground. Ernest Yao Ayim, and then, of course, Ernest Yao Ayim, and then, of course, Yao Ba. But if there's going to be any surprise, you can also not rule out Nana Amasewa, the only woman among the 7 men.
Fantastic detail there, William. I thank you so much. I know this is a place that you're spending quite some time in there, so we definitely will connect with you subsequently. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you very much.
William Evansinkom is Ashanti regional correspondent, giving us details ahead of the Kumewo by-election, the primaries of the NPP. What do we do know now after the process of picking nomination forms has ended today? 8 persons have so far picked nomination forms to contest the NPP parliamentary primary in the Kumewu constituency. We have all the 8 names. The current director of health promotion at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Aboagye Da Costa, a former member of parliament for Kumewu, that William Evansinkom posed him as one of 2 persons who could possibly win this. Opinion Yauba, Obapa Amasewa is the only lady in there, and Esteim, Dr. Philip Yaubano, Edward Kofi Osei, and we have Kwame Apiakobi and Owusu Bempah. These are persons we understand are quite known in the constituency. But let's go back to Alia's story and go straight to Washington, D.C., where we're learning that the finance minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, has outlined some 5 key measures necessary for government to pursue in order to secure the IMF program. It talked about electricity tariff hikes, which have seen a cumulative increase of about 60% since August 2022, a comprehensive set of revenue-enhancing measures, including the increase in the VAT and the review of the electronic transactions levy. Abdul Sani Rahman is a man in Washington, D.C., monitoring the IMF spring meetings, and is connecting with us from Washington, D.C. Sani, thank you so much. Now, what more do we know the finance minister has been talking about?
Well, essentially, the finance minister has sought to reassure investors that the fiscal challenges that led to the current debt crisis would not be a thing that will likely recur, at least in the immediate term. That's why you've heard about the issues of electricity, among other increases that the government has put out regarding levies, regarding utilities, among others. You know, the government has been subsidizing some of these services, and that partly has contributed to the worsening fiscal situation. So essentially, that's what the finance minister sought to do, to tell the investor community, hey, we are restoring our economy. The very challenges that led to the current debt crisis would be a thing of the past, Alfred.
I see. Now, there was the earlier reports about the possible second phase of the domestic debt action program. The finance minister has been clarifying exactly what has he been saying.
Well, a matter of semantics, as I can put it, you know, because the finance minister has not entirely debunked asking if it's a new round or an extension of the domestic debt exchange program that we are told was completed, because I asked the finance minister, there is a report in Accra that indicates there is another round of debt exchange on the domestic front. The finance minister said no, there is no new or an extension of the domestic debt exchange that we are seeing on the local front. However, he admitted that the cocoa bills that we know that a lot of banks have been invested in, that we know even the pension funds have been invested in, and of course the domestic dollar bonds also would see some form of restructuring as part of the government's debt management strategy. So essentially the only thing the finance minister has debunked, in my estimation, has been the pension funds directly being restructured, but indirectly the pension funds would suffer some sort of haircut or maturity extension, because we know the pension funds have invested hugely in the domestic dollar bonds. We know they are exposed in the cocoa bills. So if government is looking at these instruments to restructure, essentially it's going to touch them. And I don't know why the initial denial of that potential exercise, which we are seeing very clearly will be happening in the next couple of weeks or months.
Sani, thank you so much for this update. Appreciate as always. This is a man, Abdul Sani Rahman, connecting with us live from Washington, D.C. The ongoing IMF spring meetings, where the finance minister has been talking and engaging external creditors, reassuring investors about the economy of Ghana bouncing back in the coming months, and also giving another timeline. And Ekia Brampa is here, another timeline of ending of May for this IMF program. Would you subscribe to those who say that, you know what, let's just be quiet?
I think
let's just
agree,
be quiet,
yeah.
and get a program, whatever time.
I know that Professor Lord Mensah is one of the key people who are saying that we shouldn't give ourselves timelines. Let's just open up and go straight to the point, work towards whatever dates they would move on as creditors, and then get to the level of staff signing, and then we get a program. And I think it's in the right direction, rather than giving dates of a second quarter. So I asked Sani yesterday which of the months within the quarter are we looking at, May or June, and the finance minister is still not specific, just second quarter. And I just hope that we get this program by the second quarter. And I like the bit of the clarity on the DDEP, because this afternoon it was news that we should expect another one, and I'm sure you know what this would have meant within the second.
Labour is already up in arms.
I know, right?
Saying,
well, beyond DDEP, beyond the 3 billion loan, we should expect prices of fuel to also increase at the pumps for the second pricing window, which starts on the 16th of April, Alfred. So
it's been decreasing for quite a while now, consistently.
We have enjoyed the decrease. Unfortunately, prices on the international market have surged, so that is what COPEC as well as IES are saying, that we should expect some increases. But the margins are quite interesting. The IES is predicting 8% increase, which I think is crazy.
Absolutely.
And COPEC is predicting 2%. So
we can go with the COPEC
I
one.
prefer COPEC.
You know, and most of the time when it's just 2 days or a day to the second pricing window,
we are waiting.
There will be some artificial shortages at the various pumps. You go there and then they'll display no fuel.
They'll be telling operational challenges.
My goodness.
It is a lie.
Anyway, let's get into what you
have. So
have,
the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, is predicting a 2.01% increase in price of petrol at the retail pumps from April 16. According to COPEC, its forecast is based on the increase in international benchmark pricing from $772.75 per metric ton to $900.20 per metric ton, indicating a 16.49% rise. By this, the retail price of petrol works up to 12 cedis 41 pesos per litre. It explained that by this, petrol is expected to be sold at 13 cedis 03 pesos per litre at the pumps from April 16. On the other hand, the price of diesel is expected to drop by 5.58%. This will be in a decrease from the current value of 12 cedis 71 pesos per litre to between 11 cedis 40 pesos and 12 cedis 60 pesos per litre, COPEC pointed out that the international price of LPG has slightly increased from $530 per metric ton to $535 per metric ton, representing 1.01%. By this, LPG is also expected to be sold between 10 cedis 90 pesos per kilogram and 12 cedis 04 pesos per kilogram. But if you are calculating in cylinder, well, that one, I'm sure you know what we're talking about. It's currently around 200 cedi plus per cylinder, so you should expect more. You should add more coins to the cedis when you're buying LPG at the various stations. Away from fuel, President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, says the cost of doing business in Ghana remains very high. According to him, most members experience over 50% depletion of their capital in the last quarter of 2022. Commenting on Guterres' experience in the first quarter of this year, Dr. Obeng told 3 Business, although the city has seen some significant gains this year, with inflation rates reducing, a lot more government intervention is required to support businesses.
This year, I've seen some positive trends, especially with regard with the exchange rate, which seems to have been a bit stabilized and all that. And so, for now, I would say that we are on the threshold to recover if things are sustained the way it is. But our only problem has been the cost of doing business being very many, including the taxes that keep on being imposed on us and all that. That is a serious problem that we have to deal with.
And that was the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Meanwhile, the Traders Advocacy Group, Ghana, says traders do not have to reduce their prices despite the reduction in inflation rate. The group, however, maintains concerns that policymakers have not done enough to assist trade facilitation in the country. And there's more in the following.
Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, in a press release today, have made known the difficulties and capital losses that businesses have been experiencing so far. The group says that many factors influence drop in pricing, and retailers do not need to reduce their prices and run the danger of capital loss because inflation rate is declining. They therefore urge Ghanaian traders to disregard groups that issue orders without taking into account the trader's perspective on the facts that are to be avoided. Traders Advocacy Group Ghana firmly believes Ghanaians could be saved from price hikes and is calling on government to put appropriate policies in place to reduce the cost of doing business in the country.
And that was a press release read by my colleague Menu Afo. That's about it for business. Remember, when you log on to 3news.com, you get more business updates. My name is Nana Ekuya Mensah Brampa. Kelvin Oswansa joins us next with the latest in sports. And he's a producer, but it's actually Kawawa who is presenting the sports bulletin for Hot Edition. Yao.
Right, most definitely. Let's get into the sports segment this evening here on the Hot Edition, and straight to the Ghana Premier League, where Kumasi Asante Kotoko have just been beaten at the Golden City Park by 3-0 by Berekum Chelsea. Impressive performance there from Chelsea to beat Kumasi Asante Kotoko in that game and push themselves up on the Ghana Premier League log. It's an incredible performance there from Berekum Chelsea, but not quite a good one though for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Let's move on now to some more stories. And over the weekend, there will be some games that will be happening this weekend. And Pep Guardiola says there's no guarantee that Manchester City will win their games to cut Arsenal's lead at the top of the Premier League table.
Last quarter, there is no team better in modern football right now. And Arsenal at home, so they draw points, so no guarantee actually anything. The reality today, the table are 6 points behind. If you want to be draw, or we tight, or we close, we have to win our games. That is the people say no, we are 8 points behind in front of the second in the past of Liverpool, who have 7-8 points. No, it's okay, they have to win it. So at the end, when they tie the games, and after we see the reality. And the reality is that we are 6 points behind. And tomorrow we have to try to sleep with 3 points behind.
You heard that from Pep Guardiola. Now, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag has sent a strong message to his players as the season gets to its business end. After drawing 2-2 against Sevilla, United faced Nottingham Forest on Sunday. Here's United boss Erik ten Hag.
And when you want to find excuses or when you want to set excuses, then you don't have to play in Man United. Then you have to look for another club. You have to wait for your moment, and when your moment is there, you have to contribute and to have you have to bring your performance. That is what we demand.
Erik ten Hag, who is Manchester United's boss. Let me take you through the fixtures for tomorrow in the English Premier League. Before we go on, Aston Villa will take on Newcastle United. That game comes off at 11:30 a.m. And then Chelsea face Brighton and Hove Albion at 4 p.m. At 2 p.m., I beg your pardon. Chelsea Brighton's at 2 p.m. Everton Fulham will also play at 2 p.m. Later tomorrow. And Southampton will also face Crystal Palace at 2 p.m. Tottenham Hotspur will face AFC Bournemouth also at 2 p.m. And the Wolverhampton Wanderers will also face Brentford also at 2 p.m. The game at 4:30 p.m. though is Manchester City, who will be playing their game in hand against Leicester City. My name is Yao Ofosulabi, and that's all the sports here on the Hot Edition. Alfred, take over.
Yeah. So Manchester City is just being, cautiously optimistic, is it not?
I think that they have a game in hand.
Yeah.
If they win that game, the lead cuts to three. And I mean, Pep has been in this title race for a really long time.
Yeah.
I think he's just been.
It was one of the seasons that it was just a point between them and Liverpool.
Yes.
And the last day's game, they won it.
Yeah, they won it. Yeah, and I think it will go right down to the wire in this season as well. So Arsenal fans do not need to back down at all.
Indeed.
Because the moment they slip, City might take advantage, and so they have to consistently win.
We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, thank you. Akofa, which team do you support?
I would not want to disclose that. Moving coming up on entertainment tonight, multiple award-winning Ghanaian singer and songwriter Kidi born Dennis Nana Dramina has finally broken his silence after weeks of rumors that he's down with stroke. The reigning VGMA Artist of the Year described reports that suggested that he has been hit by stroke as fake. His post read, "A little under 2 months ago, I made the painful decision of cancelling my tour to take care of my health. That included taking time off social media. Unfortunately, a few bad actors took this as an opportunity to spread false stories that got a lot of you very concerned. While I do not want to give it any more attention, I want to categorically address that those stories were false." Kidi seized the opportunity to express appreciation for the overwhelming outpouring of love from family, friends, fans, and the brands he works with. "I am glad to be back to doing what I love most, creating music and performing for you. Thanks for sticking it out with me," he noted. Now to other stories. The VGMAs is just around the corner, and as expected, the predictions have started pouring in. Multiple award-winning record producer and CEO of highly spiritual music Kewa has dropped his predictions for the Artist of the Year category. According to him, his top picks will be PSA Esther and Black Sheriff for the Artist of the Year category.
Let's just be honest, it's not easy throughout the year in perspective, to work, to work that hard. It's not easy, so I want to say that everybody who is there deserves it. But I'm picking two. PSA, I'm looking at Black Sheriff also. And let's see any other person who can make it. They all deserve it. I've watched closely PSA Esther, the kind of things she's done. I think that she's had a song, but she's been almost gone everywhere with that song. It's on the lips of everybody. Good video there also. Then Black Sheriff rising from nowhere straight to the top. And so for both of them, I believe they all deserve it. What you think is easy may not be easy for other people. However, like I'm saying, on that day they will obviously have a winner. The winner may come from these two.
And that's multiple award-winning record producer and CEO of highly spiritual music, Kewa there. Moving on, the 2023 Ghana Party in the Park Festival has been launched, and according to organizers, this year's event would be preceded by a 2-day Ghana Business Expo, showcasing Ghana's rich cultural heritage, music, dance, and fashion. Several musical talents, including Sarkodie, Jackie, Kelvin Boy, Kofi Kinata, and Sugar King crooner Kamido, have all thrilled patrons at the annual festival. Chris Corney is a member of the communication team for Ghana Party in the Park.
One of the things we've sought to do with Party in the Park is to make sure we project, market and sell the rich Ghanaian culture, and of course selling Ghana to the rest of the world. We've had our A-list artists and other amazing Ghanaian performers rock the stages of Ghana Party in the Park over the years, and we are happy to be here this evening to let the world know we are back for this year's edition of Ghana Party in the Park and Ghana Expo. This year we are looking at having the event once again in July, and we are just letting the world know we've announced our dates. The Expo this year, fortunately, we have 2 days of Expo. That is the 12th and the 13th of July, and Ghana Party in the Park is going to be on Saturday, 15th of July, and we expect everyone to be there in their numbers like they always come every year.
And that's Chris Corney, member of the communication team for Ghana Party in the Park. Thanks for your time. That's all the entertainment news on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Alfred is taking over your radio with Hot Edition. We're wrapping up, are we not?
Yes, indeed. You are not back at 8 o'clock today,
No, today is Friday.
Today is Friday.
Yeah.
There's block party.
Block party. Hey, what is happening? I seem to be dropping bombs this evening. Yeah.
You
Crystal
decided
Kwame,
not to disclose your team.
I think that's the reason.
Exactly
I think
what
that's
is
it.
happening.
But yeah, Crystal and her team, they're taking over your radio at 7.
Super. Thank you, Akofa. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Hot Edition. But for the Accra East region of the Electricity Company of Ghana has today disconnected electricity supply to dozens of homes at Oyarifa in Accra over illegal consumption of power. The team also retrieved over 40 fake or illegal prepaid meters from homeowners. Speaking to journalists, the commercial manager of the Accra East region, Jonathan Asante, said officials are tracking down the supplier of the fake meters.
One of the things we've sought to
We've intercepted some of these meters. You know, but Ghanaians as we are, we always want to cover our sources. So we will deal with them as and when we get them. Some of them are standing prosecution, but it seems the sources are so much that you intercept some. Central region, Ashanti region have intercepted some, Volta region have intercepted some, and it keeps on coming.
So for the ECG, your hands are tied. You don't do anything about it.
We will fight it. What we want to do now, the strategy for today's activity is to let those who are behind the supply of this meter know that they are rather they are very close, very soon we'll close on them.
That's Jonathan Asante, commercial manager of the Accra East region of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The drive continues with Giovanni, AJ, and DJ Faculty. Remember to join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. Have a great weekend. I am Alfred Ocansey.